In this series, we explore our country's world-class architecture. Come with me as we search for Australia's boldest architectural statements. Welcome to Australia by Design Architecture. We've gathered an expert panel of design industry leaders to choose which projects will go through to our best of the best final.
We have professional architects, we have material suppliers, we have people associated with art and design.
This year, the judging taking place virtually with an international judge joining us as well.
How cool is it to have a judge, an architect from Mexico who practices in New York?
I think there's been very clever conversations. That's the beauty of judging from different perspectives and from different nationalities and coming together to see what design can do and the power of design, which this is what it's all about.
In this episode, an architectural statement in City Beach, Perth, and a horror bushfire in Kangaroo Valley, overcome by the power of good design. But first, prickly rocks on the Mornington Peninsula.
A really great example of brutalist architecture. I really love the way that it sits in its environment.
It's a house that really does articulate the properties of concrete exceptionally well.
I've arrived to be greeted by a big concrete wall and a big timber door. And I just can't wait to see what's on the other side. Oh, this is nice, Stephen.
Yeah, so here we are. This is the entry, Reno.
It's surprisingly warm in here. I'm not going to need my jacket, am I?
No, that's right. Well, these walls are 400 millimetres thick, cast in place concrete with 100 millimetres of insulation. So it's very stable temperature.
Oh, wow. This is an absolutely beautiful living space.
This is the centre point of the house in a lot of ways. Bushy and Danny were keen to have a point right here that could survey the whole house. People arriving, kids playing.
The kitchen, the main heart of the house, I can see is here, and it's divided into two sections. So we've got a little bit of a back butler's pantry there, which is almost a second kitchen. Yeah,
Bushy and Danny were very keen to have the ability to run the kitchen from behind the scenes, but also be able to run the kitchen from front of house.
Stephen, I'm noticing the obvious difference in the concrete from what we see on the kitchen bench to the walls and the ceiling.
That was a deliberate strategy to create a contrast between the concrete that you touch, which is super smooth, and the concrete that you look at.
Tell me about the space here. It seems quite cleverly zoned.
Well, it's a classic open plan Reno, kitchen, dining, living. But just with a slight variation here with a fireplace sitting on this concrete bench that just creates a little bit of separation.
There's got to be something behind this wall.
There's a separate space at the end there. You can do anything from watching a movie, reading a book, or listening to music. There are timber doors that slide out and just isolate that space completely. There's
no space wasted. Everything seems to be used.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually, quite a compact and fully used plan.
So, Stephen, we've gone from the concrete box on the inside where we were warm and quiet to the cold and noise of the outdoor environment here.
The reason I wanted to bring you out here was just to show you that duality between the fragile timber and then the monolithic concrete.
I mean, you say it's fragile, but I assume there's quite a lot of strength in that timber box, isn't there?
Hidden in there is some substantial steel structure.
Hence the cantilever.
This is a bedroom, suite, bathroom, bedroom, all in one, steam room upstairs, and then bedroom, bathroom downstairs.
Oh, it's the bathroom. I was looking for the bedroom.
Reno.
Oh, Danny.
Good. Hi, Reno. No, you have walked into our bedroom. Yes, it's the bathroom, but beyond the vanity, we have our bedroom over there. This was inspired by a trip we went to Bhutan, and after a long day's walk, we arrived at the hotel, and we walked in bathroom, but beyond the bathroom is the bedroom, and then beyond the bedroom is the grand view.
So this is really the hero shot of the place where we can see this majestic view.
This is the only place in the whole house where we actually have a view as such. We could have opened up this view to the suburbs beyond, but we really just wanted to picture this space and this view out here.
Stephen, now this is a lovely surprise. I didn't know what to expect from the other side of the wall there, and I love the contrast between the timber and the concrete.
Yeah, you do see it very clearly here, Reno.
And I love how you can see straight through the house onto the national park there, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. And Ushi and Danny were very keen on being able to see that view through the house and just picking up the rolling mooners rolling across the dunes.
This is just wonderful space. We've got this outdoor area which is often full of children screaming and in the pool and bouncing on the trampoline. And we love just being able to hop in the car and come down here, and we've escaped everything in between, and we just come down here, and this is our little getaway.
What I like about this property is the way the contrast of concrete and timber reflects the owner's dual lifestyle of country and city living. The architecture stands strong against the brutal elements, whilst always maintaining an even stronger sense of calm, warmth and privacy.
Coming up, city beach living and design success snatched from the jaws of bushfire defeat. Welcome back to Australia by Design Architecture. Which projects from today's episode will the judges choose to go through to our final later in the series? But now, designing for an expanding family in Perth.
What I love most about this is the approach that they've taken to multifunctional living.
I believe that they've done a very good job with this one, using a lot of timber in the build. They will need to maintain and upkeep the timber. As long as they do this, it will look fantastic for years to come.
Designing houses for people of all ages and all budgets makes you realise that no two families or their briefs are ever the same. The owners of this next house instructed their architect to design a home that would evolve with their family as they grew. So Sam, this is a stunning house. It's for a family of how many?
So there's 4 of them, a mum and dad and a girl and a boy, and they really wanted something that would suit them now, but also evolve with them as they grew.
There's a common fallacy that you need to buy a block that has north at the back. But this house and block are different.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really liked about it when the client came to me with this. We can really use that long axis on the north to get really great access to the sun. Because the sun shallows down in winter, it means that we can allow all of that beautiful warm winter sun to come in from the northeast and from the northwest and warm up the house.
And you know, the reality by designing your house around passive design principles is that you don't have to use your air conditioning.
Yeah, in fact the client almost never does.
Yes.
It's a space that uses the breezes to wash it out. So what that means is if you leave all the louvers open during the day, the internal spaces will be really temperate, so when you come home it's quite livable.
I love these beautiful columns clad in cedar, and the rhythm of them is just beautiful coming out to this outdoor area.
Yeah, it's kind of got this organic form to it. I kind of think of it as kind of someone's calves and the thighs that come out, and it's quite expressive of mid-century modernism where the structure, post and beam construction was pulled away from the cladding lines. What that means is that you can see the honesty of the building, you can see how it's made.
Inside and outside you've got brick. That's great for families, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I have 3 young boys. They destroy anything that I build, so I kind of know how to build homes which are hopefully somewhat indestructible. So marks on the walls are hidden by just the raw honesty of the material, and rather than it being kind of a skin on the outside, we kind of like to wrap it in so it's kind of got an honesty about it. So you're not biting into an apple and seeing something else when you get in. It's got the purity all the way through.
Sam, this is a beautiful double height space. What's this up here?
Well, the home is all about flexibility. We want the mums and the dads and the kids to be able to use the spaces differently as they change and as they age. And that's all about keeping the home small rather than creating 3 or 4 different rooms that all have various functions. We have one room that can change over time.
this view is just amazing. I mean, the gum trees and the bush, it's really, really special. You're so high here.
Yeah, it just sucks you in, doesn't it?
You've kept the high-level windows wrapping around and then cut away that wall, so I can see bush in this direction as well. It's surrounding us.
So we've used privacy and screens in ways so we can capture our neighbours' greenery and our neighbours' trees without affecting their privacy or them affecting us.
When you use an architect, you get elements of delight that you never expected.
Yeah.
And they're the things that are really special.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time thinking and thinking how to make the thing completely beautiful, and then you can still get surprises from what you've done. So
the joy of our business.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing being an architect and trying to contribute to people's living spaces.
This house evokes the ethos of mid-century design. Beautiful living spaces inside and out. Perfect for a family to enjoy each other's company. Coming up, an incredible story of survival in New South Wales' Kangaroo Valley. Welcome back to Australia by Design Architecture. Only 2 projects from this episode will go through to the final later this season. Which ones do you think it'll be?
Kangaroo Valley is a very beautiful area, but can sometimes be subject to fires. This building was put to the ultimate test.
This is a story about design being pushed to its very limits and succeeding.
This is a recovering battlefield. It's quite an eerie feeling walking through here. A few months ago, the worst Australian bushfire in living memory swept through this valley. It's also the location where a leading Australian architect had built his family home. And Nick Turner, along with his brothers and a few mates, decided to stay and defend the house from the inferno from hell. Well, before the apocalypse, the fire, there was architecture. And Nick, how do you site a new home, your dream home, on this, well, it's a massive, massive escarpment?
Yeah, I remember the first time I came here and we walked up in the property about 450 metres and we walked up to what was the escarpment, and one's initial inclination when you come to a site like this is to optimise and get polarised around views, but there are ecological reasons and fundamental bushfire planning reasons why you can't do that. So we sited the house rather, back from the cliff about 30 metres.
So pulling the building back off the escarpment for all those environmental reasons.
Yeah.
Fire being a primary driver from the outset.
But also what we were able to benefit from was this beautiful rock outcrop that sort of sat out in front of the house, and that as a foreground landscape was incredibly special and not one to be discounted. The reality is, if you want to look at the view, you can walk over there and spend as much time or as little time as you want.
There's nothing wrong with this, let me tell you.
There is nothing wrong with that. The house from different angles appears quite defensive and the entry is quite understated at the door. You almost don't know where the door is, and then you come into this arrival space and you're greeted with this double height space that suggests there's something more interesting beyond.
In terms of modern design though, what's allowed this is obviously the columns, so it allows all the external walls to be non-load bearing, allowing us to open up the entire glass side in that view.
Yeah, absolutely. So that mountain really comes into the room. It's our wallpaper to the north.
And on this side, the enclosed courtyard.
Yeah, and this is a great space in particularly winter. It's amazing when that fire is going on a cold winter's day, how this whole space almost, it's like a roofless room.
Nick, what are some tips in designing a great kitchen?
Great working surfaces, not being too tight but not having to travel major distances. I think the kitchen triangle is critical. The fridge, the sink and bench, the cooktop and oven, minimal circulation.
Basically one step between the three of them.
But also keeping it low key. So we haven't played it up as a feature object within the house. It's just recessive and secondary, and I think so it should be.
Sarah Stevenson is one of Australia's leading colour experts, and together with Wattle, Sarah is choosing one project from the series to award the Wattle Best Use of Colour Award. The winner will receive Pantone's latest colour forecast kit. Sarah and Wattle use macro trends and consumer behaviour insights to create trends through bespoke photography and storytelling, and the winner will also receive a private preview of Wattle's 2021 colour forecast. The winner will be announced later in the series.
I would love to find a project that made a big, bold statement and was experimental and really used colour to create some pizzazz.
Coming up, Nick Turner's story continues. And which projects from this episode will our panel of design industry leaders choose to go through to the final later in the series? Welcome back to Australia by Design Architecture. In this very special feature, we continue Nick Turner's story of survival through design.
While the architecture very much frames and integrates the landscape, the whole design is very much underpinned by some very important passive and active energy systems. And ironically, while Nick and the team were battling the fire, they were relying on energy powered by the sun. In fact, the survival of the solar systems was critical in saving the house. Nick, how important was this guy in terms of survival?
Well, in terms of the fire, he made himself available 24/7 to help monitor the charging of the batteries, the relationship with the generator and when it kicked in and kicked out, just in case we had any glitches. So we had uninterrupted power. That was a great, great stress relief.
Roland, you're a solar lifeguard.
Apparently so. Just a little bit that I could do extra to help manage his stress levels at a pretty horrendous time. I was watching his property burn down around him, so anything that I could do to make myself available to reduce his stress levels is, a good thing by us.
When you think about it, I mean, it becomes one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure on this property. I'd imagine a lot of houses are lost because power is lost and you can't run hose, you can't run pumps.
The RFS always say, when the fire comes through, first thing to go is power. And I was conscious of the fact that it just kept going. The lights were still on.
Well, the solar panels are impressive, but this is the real brains in here. On the night of the fire, all your attention was really as how this room was performing.
That's right, so the grid had completely gone. These inverters here had taken over and we're using what was left in the battery bank to provide electricity to the house, to the firefighting pumps. And when the batteries got depleted, they automatically turned the generator on and started charging the batteries again.
What are the key materials here?
The iron bar timber and then concrete, and concrete features heavily. We've got the precast concrete you can see outside containing the courtyard, the precast concrete roof and roof beam that's both structural but also providing enclosure to the house, and then the heart of the house, the off-form concrete fireplace. I think it's a very pure, very robust, very honest material. You can do so much with it, and in this case we've accepted that it's not perfect. We take it warts and all the way it came off the form with its faults. I don't know, it just has a real warmth and depth to it. So this marks the end of the original house. Then we go into the bridge connection. The topography's rising, so we need to take up that level change, which is about 1.5 metres, just to get above that natural ground level.
In terms of the materials in here though, there's been a slight sort of change in the materials palette. What are some of the key materials here, Nick?
Brick, the timber again, and concrete. I'm incredibly fond of brick, and you can do so much with it. Brick being utilised more and more in larger scale buildings again, finally. The skill level of brickies is really, really increased. We're also really fortunate to have two great teams. We were trying to do it quite quickly to get a concrete pour in before Christmas, so we had two teams working towards one another. And the consistency was just fantastic, but I think they were both lifting each other's games as well. This 1.5 metre level change also gave us the ability, with very minimal effort, to be able to cut into the rock and actually have a proper temperature-controlled cellar.
After the fire, you had time to crack open and relax. What wine did you go for?
Actually, it was an old Bordeaux that a mate gave me as a 50th birthday present.
Yeah.
And I think at 3:45 in the morning, when I'd sent everyone to sleep, I couldn't find a wine glass, but I found a carafe and I got the bottle and I poured it into the carafe, and I think I was sitting there in a pair of underpants and thongs in shock. And I thought, bugger it, I'll have a drink. And I sat there and worked my way through the carafe.
That's great.
It's funny, it doesn't seem to go away. It's you get these moments where it's pretty raw, and despite the sort of superficial gloss of the green that's around now, there's years to recover these gardens, and the evidence of destruction. We've really spent 3 months cleaning up. It's taken that long, and it's amazing what 9 hours can do. It's taken 3.5 months to clean up 9 hours of destruction.
And now, time to find out which projects from this episode have the judges selected to go through to our final later in the series. Firstly, Stephen O'Connor's Prickly Rocks project.
The exceptional thing about it is the different textures and slightly different tones of concrete that have been used throughout the building.
And Nick Turner's Kangaroo Valley house.
Seeing this project, I can only imagine what the owners went through during the bushfires, and it's great to see how they've bounced back.
The collective story of this project demonstrates how design can get pushed to the edge.
I really see this as a beautiful piece of honest Australian design.
Join us next time when we showcase more of Australia's best architectural projects on Australia by Design Architecture.